Can't see without specs anymore.
Good afternoon and greetings from the Heartfulness Institute. We are yet on one more journey into a webinar series of the wellness program. This time we have a very interesting topic which talks about solitude to inner connection. I am Dr. Uma Subbaraman, hosting this program for you. By profession, I'm a management consultant and a professor. But more importantly, I've been practicing meditation and inner connection for the last 30 plus years. Joining me in today's webinar program are two eminent panelists, Dr. Harish and Mr. Rishi Ranjan. A little about Dr. Harish. Dr. Harish is an interventional doctor. Excuse me. 1 minute, please. Dr. Harish is an interventional cardiologist who is currently affiliated with prominent hospitals across Mumbai. He has done his fellowship at University Hospital Switzerland and is also a visiting faculty at his Department of Cardiology. He is the founder of Healing Hearts, and Dr. Mehta has been practicing heartfulness meditation for the past 12 years since 2007. And we have Mr. Rishi Ranjan, another eminent panelist. He is an IT person. He has more than 2 decades of IT experience with various companies. He has his own YouTube channel named Ek Rishi Ki Baatein, which is widely used in Hindi-speaking areas. He's been called by various business schools, colleges, and corporates to conduct programs on topics of reality, transformation, and authentic leadership. He's practicing heartfulness meditation for around 22 years. Indeed, we are in great company to have this topic going. And welcome, Rishi and Harish.
Good to see you. Hi, Rishi, how are you?
So we are the 36th day of lockdown and still counting. It is like a wormhole. We are going back in time, back to washing plates, laundry, and to kids, connecting to people. So it's a great time, a great discovery of sorts, not knowing what is in store for us. Good time to discuss this topic of inner connection. So can we start with Rishi? What's your take on this solitude to inner connection?
Right. So thank you. Thanks for having me. Good to be here and talking on this beautiful topic. How can we use this existing scenario for becoming something different, if not better, right? I mean, I like the lockdown. The reason, I have started to like lockdown. The reason being is I'm in Bangalore, and Bangalore is notoriously famous for all the traffic jams and the traffic snarls, pollution, so on and so forth. So, I mean, I don't get into it. That's pretty much good about it. But as you know, the topic is how we can utilize this for building something better inside us. I was thinking it over, and let me start with a small story. The story is about Raja Janak, who was a famous, great saint and a king too. So both things coming together. He was a king and a great saint. So his guru was Ashtavakra. And one day Lord Janak, asked Ashtavakra, saying, how to be always at peaceful, how to be calm always, how to be free from all these mundane worry things which find us always. To that, his guru Ashtavakra replied, and said in Hindi, "Vishayon ke vish se bacho." Save yourself from the poison of different subjects in which your mind is constantly engrossed and absorbed. And what the idea here is, if you see, we ourselves are constantly occupied in having different multiple connections around us. Whether they are true, whether they are required to be connected, we don't kind of worry about it. We are constantly engaged in work, in life, in traffic, commenting about the world in general, thinking about so many things externally. What is happening, what is they doing to us is they are slowly coming us. There is a calm pond inside us. The lake is peaceful and calm. They are like creating so many ripples. They are throwing so many pebbles into the calmness inside us. So when Ashtavakra said you can achieve everything that you want, get absorbed into too many subjects. They are like poison for your inner well-being. Save yourself from that, and then you will be able to kind of make yourself at peaceful, at calm, and connect yourself where you belong to. And this lockdown is giving us a beautiful time. I think it's unprecedented, where the society pressure is not for us to go outwards and connect, but the society pressure is to go inside and connect. So by design itself, we are locked. All the subjects on which we constantly engage, otherwise they are not there, they have disappeared. We are left to only ourselves. And that's a very beautiful time where we can experience this inner solitude. We may call it inner connection, or we may call it removal of any other connection, or we may call it moving from kind of multiplicity to singularity or simplicity, whatever we may want to call it. But our mind is no longer constantly engaged into the external subjects, and that's the beautiful opportunity about it. So yes, I mean, this solitude means lesser of those subjects around me, which automatically gravitates to the oneness which is there inside all of us. I have seen different people, all of us dealing it in different manner, but there is one more word which has come out very nicely in these scenarios. The word is essentials. Government is saying focus on essentials, have only food and medical things being done, essentials. And this essentials is also very much relevant for us. What is essentials for us? And essentials means the essence. What makes the essence of us? What defines us? What makes us what we are? That's the essence. That's the essentials. And we had too much coverings around it. So once we focus on that essentials, the inward journey, that's where I think, that's where the crux is. And we can use this time frame beautifully to save ourselves from different subjects, focus on the essentials around us and inside us.
Wonderful, wonderful, Rishi. Can we have Harish?
Yeah, thanks for having me here. And Rishi, you hit the right spot, and that's exactly what I've been thinking. So you want me to elaborate more on that, or you want to take another question?
Harish, I just want you to talk on this. When we are talking of being alone, it's always taken to be negative. It is confused with loneliness.
Right.
So can you just talk about it and say like how this is a little different? Solitude is not loneliness.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. People generally make a mistake, because you can be with multiple people and yet be lonely.
Yes.
So you may be going to events or parties, and you find some of us are just there but not there. So you are with people and you're lonely. So there's a lot of difference between loneliness and alone. So that's the basic difference. When I say being alone means you have to be connected to your inner self. Now the question arises, aren't we connected to our inner selves always, or we are not? Are we not always connected?
Yeah.
So the general mind would say, I'm always connected. So how do you know that you're not connected, and how do you know you're connected? So taking this further, I would look at it.
Harish, can I just stop you here?
Sure.
Just to clarify for viewers who are not meditators,
Right.
Who have no clue about what we're talking about,
Right.
going inside. Because, both of you are in the connection industry, he
Right.
on the ITA and you connected to life. So it is very difficult when people are constantly interacting with the outside world,
Right.
that their silence is either silence listening to something or watching Netflix, or it's constantly silence, which is outwardly fixed,
True.
not fixed inside.
Right.
So first of all, what is my motivation to go inwards? A. B is that if I am lonely, it is a negative emotion, is a question. And if it is a negative, then how do I distinguish between a solitude? I mean, these are words, you're playing around with words.
Right, I got it.
Yeah.
So, as I was telling you, then you don't have to be meditating to think of inner connection. Uh, Let me give you an example. Now, for example, if I ask someone, why do you want to inner connect? I mean, he would say, I'm happy anyways. Why do I need to inner connect? So I ask him a question, are you happy always? And then the answer immediately comes, no. There are moments where I'm not happy. So I ask him, when are you not happy? He says, when something he wants or wishes is not fulfilled. So that clearly connects you to the external environment. So your desire decides your happiness. So the moment one desire is fulfilled, your happiness lasts only a few seconds or a few minutes or a few days. It's like buying a car and you just forget about it very soon. And then you move on to the next desire. And again, that gives you happiness momentarily. Then again, you go down. So there is clearly a disconnect. Now, when I say inner connection, what does it mean? Do I have to meditate for inner connection? Yes, there's one way to do it. But why do I need the inner connection? Is when I want to maintain the same state of happiness all throughout. Because we alter our behavior externally with different people while dealing with different things. So that's not our true, genuine self. We know that. And when you sit alone, not lonely, or in solitude, what is called, then you start realizing you get that question, who am I really? Am I what I am talking to people? Am I what I am at work? Am I what I am with my wife? Am I what I am with my children? That's the time you need that moment alone with yourself. When you sit in silence, initially external silence is important, because if there's continuous external noise, it's difficult to focus to your inner self. And then you know the authentic you, who you are. Once you just keep quiet, close your eyes for a few minutes, you will start feeling some difference inside. And then you will know that what is the importance of this silence, this solitude, and what it can give you, especially in these troubled times.
Yes, wonderful. Rishi, if I may just call your attention, bad times, unemployment, people are losing their jobs, people are working from home, especially the IT. I have a daughter who's spending from morning 7 to evening 7. And there is a lot of stress, there is a lot of uncertainty as to what would happen in the coming days. So if I have to understand solitude in such a situation, which is extremely very uncertain and distressing, how would you respond to it? How would you talk about solitude as a solution, as a rational choice for these people?
Good. Yeah. Thank you. So I think that's a very relevant question. And being in IT, I mean, me and my team, we all are working from home. We are trying to kind of navigate through this pandemic, helping our customers, working continuously. So yes, I think it's a relevant question. I think let's try to understand that first thing is we are always connected. Nobody in this world is disconnected even for a moment. Now the question comes on the subject. So connection means there is somebody who's connecting to something. Right? Now, even if there is a lockdown or no lockdown, it doesn't matter. We are always connected. Even now, we are connected to the topic. And even now, there are thoughts which are arising around it. Right? What happens in this scenario is when we are mostly outward connected, we are not replenishing ourselves. We are continuously focusing, spending our energy. So they are like senses which are absorbed into a topic without any replenishment. What does replenishment mean? Replenishment means a sense of contentment, a sense of courage, a sense of a condition in us which makes us feel positive and hopeful. We are not like that. Believe me, pandemic is just making us realize that. Otherwise, I think most of the people, even in corporate world, are feeling very insecure otherwise also. There is insecurity of what will happen to me, what will happen in future. Now, all these scenarios which are getting built is putting a lot of taxing things on our mind, on our heart, and there is no replenishment. Replenishment means who will come from outside and tell me, no, there is hope. Things have gone like this before. There is something which is coming, which is better for us. There is nothing around us. And that's why inner connection becomes more beautiful, because what is inside us replenishes us. When we touch ourselves inside, we feel an infinite energy or infinite burst or gust of kind of love, the contentment. It makes us transcend ourselves, as if we are not seeing the things the way they are. We are seeing from a little higher pedestal, and in that everything has a meaning, everything has a purpose. So that purposefulness is found into that state, and once we derive that purposefulness from that connection, or let's not call it connection, from that relationship with ourselves.
Yes.
Once we find a purposefulness in that relationship with ourselves, by feeling the essence of it, then when we come out of it, all these things seems to be manageable with hope, contentment, and courage.
Fantastic. So all three of us have done this inner connection over so many years. And we have been evolving in whichever way. And we have understood this, that the word transcend means that I'm able to rise above my limitations and replenish is getting energy into myself in such a way that it kind of sorts me out throughout the day. And this is true for a person who has really worked on themselves at this. Now let's take the medical industry. We have the frontline doctors and nurses fighting with this COVID. And I'm sure Dr. Harish must be also taking COVID tests every 15 days to make sure that, he's fit to treat. Now, how do you, because, people get very tense every time you go to a test. And
Right.
how are you receiving this?
So I think present scenario, the healthcare workers are the most traumatized because they are worried that that they may contract it,
Yeah.
and which is part of their profession. I mean, we have learned to accept it. But the second biggest worry that they face is that they may infect your family when you
Right.
come home. I think
Yeah.
that's a bigger worry all these healthcare workers are challenging, and many of them are not going home because of this.
Right.
And this can lead to a lot of distress and unhappiness and mistrust amongst people. Now, how do I tell them to counter it? I give them a simple example which I have been giving after I have come into this meditation process, but I think it's a very simple example to give. So there was an event in my life which happened unanticipated. So I try to tell them that whatever we plan, whatever we think, in the end, the moment you are in is the most important, because the next moment is not in your control, whether you like it, you don't like it. And that exactly happened to me. And I realized it, I never imagined that even this event could have occurred in my life. So when such an event occurs in your life, you're left with two choices. Either you become negative and start hating everything around you because you feel that you've been wronged and you've been destroyed, or use this to find out, was there a defect in you that led to this event, and subsequently work on yourself, which is looking at the positive side of life, and also in a way connecting internally to yourself, like finding defect in yourself is a kind of connecting internally. Meditation is a higher version of finding what is there internally. So all these healthcare workers, I tell them, why are we worried whether we will get COVID or not? Because as it is by statistics, we will get COVID unless the vaccine comes. If not today, tomorrow. So let's not worry about getting it. Let's worry about how we treat our patients. And second, how best we can do to prevent from getting it and giving it. And that's the only thing that is in our control. So once you shift your focus to the moment, which takes some time, then it gets easier to deal with this problem.
That's interesting insight. And how have you been helping your colleagues? Do they know you meditate, you connect?
Yeah, I tell them that. I keep telling them that meditate. Some of them are trying it, some of them have started it, and they have found noticeable differences in that. So that's I think, an easier and a quicker way to get what I was talking about. If you're going to mechanically try to turn yourself positive every time, then it's not an automatic thing. Then it's more mechanical. You keep trying it and you keep falling back. With meditation, it may be a continuous flow and become easier, and it may become natural for you to accept everything in the positive direction.
Absolutely. So the bigger question now that comes to my mind when I'm talking to both of you is the fear. When I think of something that's going to happen to me, and I'm also told that solitude and connecting will help you, I'm saying, hey, I'm faced with a fear that this is, threatening my life. And what are you talking about transcending? So Rishi, you could just throw some light on, because fear is a huge factor. It's like I'm trying to keep it away. I'm trying to keep it away and say, I'm very positive. I'm very positive. But then when actually it hits you, somewhere you're disappointed and you say, anyway, things will go the way they have to go. So why should I connect to myself? And there is also a secondary fear of going inside. Because A is that you have never done it before. And I don't know whether it's a hornet's nest or whether it's going to be a straight connect.
Right. I mean, I think that's a very beautiful question, fear. And I think we should talk a little bit more detail. What is fear?
Yes.
In its most natural form, fear is a choice-making mechanism. Okay, and as the great masters in heartfulness have said, there are two types of fear. In fact, if you see this pandemic, it is just making us fear nature, which is a right fear. So there are two types of fear being said, which is said khaufe mizazi, which is the fear which we develop on our own, and khaufe hakiki, the right set of fear which any human being should have. Like, we should fear for our life. We should not stand in front of the train. That's the right set of fear. If that fear is removed, then pretty much we'll not fear life anymore, and the most gift of our life will be taken away. So there are fundamentals fear which is there in us, and the fear is given to us, so we choose right. That's the only purpose. And at that moment, the courage doesn't build us. So what is the fear I'm saying? The fear, suppose we are trying to take a step which is not required to be taken at that point of time, then our heart just skips a beat and say, hey, not that side. That's the fear in its full, pure form. Now, if we overcome that, like the way we have been doing, saying, no, I mean, I am better than this, and I have courage to override this fear. Now, this is something which we as human beings have been doing for so long, right? And we kind of transcend that fear. In fact, we should respect that fear. So fear of playing with the natural elements, fear of playing with the natural, the way it is organized, we should not do that. Now, what has done in this progression, we have transcended the fear which was supposed to be there, but we have created our own fear. For example, the child crosses a road and the mother says, hey, be careful, otherwise you will have an accident. Now, what is doing? The mother is inducing this fear into the child. Now, this child will get that fear and will have that fear throughout the life. This is khaufe zazi, the fear we develop on our own, right? Now, in these two scenarios, if you see, the pandemic is making us realize the distinction between these two. They are fears which we should have because they make us better human being and better as mankind, right? So we
Yes.
should respect that. We should not feel that we can overcome anything and we are like the creator of the universe, which we are not, right? There was some WhatsApp thing going on saying the whole pandemic, if you sum up all the matter of these virus and people who are infected or who are dead, it is pretty much 1 gram. So 1 gram of effective matter has literally brought the whole world under the lockdown and this crisis. Can you just imagine? 1 gram of fear, right? But that was the right set, right? Now we have to stay indoors. That's the right set of fear, right? We have to wash our hand. That's the right set of fear, right? But we should not project fear and saying, hey, I'm not gone inside. What will happen if I go inside? That's the fear which we have generated on our own. It is an illusory fear because we have not done it before. So if we see something, so let's try to tackle this fear by putting more, thoughts in it. So what is meditation? I would like to say we always meditate. Suppose somebody is listening to this webinar carefully. That is a form of meditation. Meditation is nothing but resting our mind on a particular thought. That's pretty much it. So since beginning, when somebody goes to school, mother says, "Dekho, dhyan se kaam karna, dhyan se operation karna." So what is this meditation? We all know, right? I mean, it's just putting our mind at one place, and that's pretty much it. There is no difference in putting our mind at one place, which is the external manifestation, and putting our mind at one place into the root of our existence, which is our heart. So if the tree is not blooming the way it should bloom, then we should better water the roots, not the leaves. And that's what meditation is all about. We water the roots of our existence, which is our heart. So again, coming back to the question, a short answer is fear is justified if it is if it promotes the growth of mankind and ourselves as a human being in the true sense. But we should also get rid of the fear which we generate on our own.
Yeah, so that triggers me into another line of thought, which is fear by itself, as you said, is if it is a healthy fear, but I would say I wouldn't want to word it as fear. I would say it as caution. Like if I fear a snake, it's a very rational choice because I know if it bites me, it is poison. But there is fear where I'm allowing it to magnify itself. This is where I'm going to ask Dr. Harish to step in. And this is leading, accepting the fear, the consequences. What can happen? What is the worst thing that can happen? And if I accept it, the fear is gone. Right? And when you're doing an operation, you being a heart surgeon, you know, you're in the most, the finest and the most delicatest moments when person's life is in your hands. And at those times, there's no question of fear. It's a question of doing a job, accepting the situation for what it is. Can you talk more about it, Harish?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example of fear, and then I will come to the surgery part. There's a beautiful, if you see National Geographic Channel, you see the hunt where the lion is chasing the wild beast or the zebra, and everybody's running helter-skelter. And once the hunt is over, after about a few minutes, you'll see again the wild beast or the zebra having water with the lion. They are there again, apparently so-called enemies.
Yes.
So they have this very clear distinction or a switch, which Rishi was talking about, a fight and a flight response.
Right.
So when the lion is hungry, the wildebeest senses it and runs for life. And the moment the danger is over, they switch off and the zebra forgets that the lion is next to it. And the lion also won't go chasing the same thing. Unfortunately, we humans don't have that switch, or we don't want that switch. So we carry this fear endlessly. The moment we see a lion means he's going to eat us. That's the fear we develop, as he said, crossing the road. So that is what people need to have, this off switch. And this, how does this off switch come? When you try to find out what is the fact behind the matter and how do you deal with it. So coming to the surgical part regarding the fear part, it is clearly proven that if a doctor is fearful, he's going to make more wrong judgments and wrong decisions, which can damage the patient's condition or even hamper his outcome, the patient's outcome. So they will make more mistakes. So fear has to be under check or controlled. Now, is it possible to control this fear externally? Yes, to some extent. You can, some people chant for some time, some people find another hobby to get their fear down or something or the other. But then this is short lived because it gets you back when the trigger comes back. Once the trigger is back. So we have to learn that even if the trigger is there, I'm going to be centered in myself, which is called inwardly centered. That gives you that focus that whatever is the problem that has occurred, this will go away as long as I maintain that centeredness. Because it is not permanent. Even this pandemic is not going to be permanent. I'm sure that we are looking at, someone says 3 months, someone says 6 months, someone says 9 months. I would say, are we paused? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. I think Sister
Go ahead.
Uma is
Yeah.
paused. We have network issues or?
Yes, go ahead. I think, yeah. So
Okay.
the pandemic
So-
will out. Yeah.
Right. So what we need to know is ki, how, why worry if the pandemic is going to last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? Break it down into moments. Live
Right.
today, finish today, we'll see tomorrow.
Right.
Live tomorrow, see what happens tomorrow, we'll live day after. So
Right.
what we need to do is center ourselves and live the entire life in parts. Don't try to live it all together. So don't live for tomorrow, don't live for day after. And that's exactly what nature is trying to tell us, what our ancient gurus have been telling us for ages.
Yep. Yeah.
We live for now. And the pandemic, this virus is telling us, I don't know when I'm going to come to you. So live for now, enjoy it.
We have to learn to live with virus also now. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, it's
We
coexistence.
need an invisible virus to tell us how to live every day as if today is the last day. Huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just going back to Rishi, just wanted to draw your attention that you've been running, hosting so many shows. When you talk about like how Dr. Harish was talking about centering, this is exactly where the point comes of connecting yourself to that source which just is focused on the job. Now, this is true for any profession, that when you're doing that kind of centering, you are in solitude. So there is nothing that is going to be a grand definition of solitude except that staying focused as if there is no choice, right? So just wanted to ask you, what is the role of acceptance in connecting inside? What is the role of accepting?
Right. So, actually, what is acceptance? You see, acceptance means seeing things the way they are. I don't project my outcome over the result. So even in now in the COVID situation, I don't project a situation saying, you know, this is good, that is bad, 3 months is good, 6 months is bad. If we allow the unfolding the way things are getting unfolded, doing our job the way by living in present, that's pretty much it. Now, acceptance means it is as it is. The way things are is the way things are. Or when we accept the creation, we accept the creator. You see the difference? Automatically, the moment the acceptance comes into our heart, we are accepting a higher phenomena or the nature, that role which was not visible or not recognized or we were not aware of it, we start recognizing of that awareness in our hearts. So acceptance is nothing but recognizing that my circle of control is only my circle of control. But there is nature which is having a bigger control, which includes my circle of control. That's the acceptance. It is as it is. Now, when we say it is as it is, we have a feeling that it is as it is. No. The way the great saints and elders have defined, it is as it is. The way things were supposed to be done is the way the things are getting done. The moment we have this feeling in our hearts, we find a purpose into the situation, that this is getting unfolded the way it was supposed to get unfolded for our own betterment. Now, once we have this, we are automatically connected. We don't need to apply a will or a force to get connected, because it is not like the creator has created all of the universe and sitting outside on some Mars or Venus and watching us. No, it's pretty much here in our hearts. Inner connection gently means accepting his presence or her presence in our heart, or wherever we want to accept. But the presence should be recognized. That's the inner connection. So acceptance not only helps us putting us, and we can just feel it right now also. Just realize in our hearts for like 10 seconds, it is as it is. Myself, it is as it is. The relationship around me, it is as it is. The situation around me,
Right.
is the way it is supposed to be done. Naturally, our mind will stop creating the subjects which the Guru Ashtavakra was saying. There is no subject left for the mind to operate on. Mind inwardly, immediately kind of contracts here and starts expanding inside. So yes, acceptance and inner connections, they are, I think, the two sides of the same coin. Acceptance of the nature itself.
I asked you this question, keeping in mind what I was when I was 20 years, when I met our instructor Guru for the first time in 1983. And the first thing he said is, you just obey. And that was very toxic at that point of time. I said, no, I'm going to question you. So this was like, it was going on for a while, because this questioning, answering. And after a point of time, he said, that's it. Now you just accept. So for newcomers, especially youngsters, who come with a great intellect and with great confidence in their abilities, for them, acceptance, as it were, is not a very immediately, a nice thing to hear for them, or something which they can work with. But having said that, the youth is also very proactive these days when they're seeing situations that is coming, which we were never challenged with in our times. They see that, as you say, it is what it is. And therefore, what is the next intelligent thing to do? Can I just keep quiet, understand this completely and see if it's working for me? And if it is working for me, then I go with it. So when we're talking now, moving towards now having understood solitude and inner connection. Now, what is the litmus test, as Harish was also saying, when do you know that you are connected to the core, which is making you absolutely peaceful, wonderful, completely replenishing you with fresh energy, and you are feeling good to go 24/7? How and what you think will be the process, or how do people understand that they're not talking to their own selves, but actually connecting to their inner self?
Right. Do I take this, Rishi? I'm taking this one, Rishi.
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So this question always is going to exist, whether it is your mind that is saying that, yes, I have learned the inner connection, I have learned acceptance, or whether you're really being internally connected or you're accepting. So how do you know it? Yesterday, Rishi was beautifully explaining that once you are internally connected, you feel the condition of your inner connection, which is generally peace, calmness, and you feel settled. And some may call it love, some may call it compassion. There will be multiple qualities to it. But the best way I would describe it, that you become authentic. When I mean authentic, what do I mean by that? Means otherwise I'm not authentic. So as I was telling you earlier, that you start realizing that how are you dealing with every person you interact with. If your dealing is going to be same with everybody, irrespective of the person you're interacting with, your inner dealing is the same, and then you realize that yes, this is your inner self. Otherwise you would start being judgmental and you would deal differently with different people.
Correct.
So once your judgmental attitude or nature starts diminishing, then you realize that this is your real inner connection that is coming through. Because a forced suppression of judgment doesn't last too long. It will come back and you will hit back in some form or the other. That's one way of saying that you're inner connected. And second, if you can, like I had an experience once, and I was shocked that this experience came to me, because I was one of these most arrogant and stubborn cardiologists who could meet, and I felt everybody is doesn't know anything in this world.
Right? Yes.
And we generally develop this. I don't know why, but we probably are saving lives, and we start thinking that we are probably close to God, or
God.
if not God.
Yes. Yes.
And this feeling came to me after a few weeks or months into meditation, that I had become more of a listener than a speaker. And that was a sudden change to me. And I said, Ki, hello.
Wonderful.
So I was listening more. So that's a form of acceptance, as Rishi would say. And the second thing that beautifully came to me once, that I was walking down the street and I felt this sudden surge of love in me, where I felt that I could hug everybody on the road who was moving, irrespective whether I knew that person or not. So that gave me an idea that this is the true self, true inner connection that I was looking for. And this is what should become part of your life as you go. And then you know, yes, this is what is inner
Totally.
connection. This is not a hallucination. This is not your mind.
Absolutely. How about Rishi? Something on this?
Yeah, yeah. So, see, that's a good point. See, the last thing which we are discussing for youth. See, acceptance doesn't mean inaction.
Yes.
Famous,
Yes.
the famous, the Gita given to us was not given to Arjun under a tree or over a dining table or listening to music, right? It was given right in the battlefield, right? Acceptance is action of the highest order, like the way Dr. Harish was saying. Now, the transformation which has happened, the acceptance which has happened, that yeah, I'm more comfortable if I'm listener. That doesn't mean inaction. Now, with these new qualities, when I approach the life, I'll be at the peak of my efficiency, because that's the authentic self that I am. You see, I'm not having a perceived persona or a illusory that I am, so and so, but I go with the acceptance of what I am. So acceptance has a very different phenomena and different energy which gets boosted out of it, right? Acceptance is the action at the highest order. And repeatedly in life, as the great masters of heartfulness have said, life is mostly run by the principle of invertendo. What is invertendo? Invertendo means something which looks like in a particular manner at this level of existence is exactly opposite from a higher phenomena, right? So when the nature, the suffering which we go is basically a creation of something which is happening. It's basically something which is getting removed and something getting added. But we, into our limited, the knowledge which we have, we don't perceive it in that manner. And that's why we create all these individual pockets of knowledge, which creates that kind of illusion in us saying this is right. What is right, what is wrong is a very different topic. And that's why I think, Sister Uma, when you were saying, once you approached in 1983, the simple logic a great master can tell you is, you're applying your logic and knowledge, that is good. But in this field, listen to me, because that's the easiest path I can take you around. right? Now, coming back to how do we feel that when we are inwardly connected? Suppose we are touching a hot thing, we will feel hot. If we are touching a cold thing, we are feeling cold. What if we are able to touch the actual essence of ourselves, right? What will we feel if we are able to just touch it? We will feel a tremendous, kind of energy in us, which makes us go into a different state of existence inwardly. Have you seen an angry person slapping anybody? No. Have you feel a happy person doing anything wrong? Mostly when you're in a joyous state, your expansion happens when the love is there pouring in you. All the small prejudice looks very small in front of us. All the jealousy disappears. Why? Because the love overpowers it. So inside us, it is this phenomena which is going on, and when we connect ourselves inwardly into our hearts, all this essence starts coming from our hearts and start becoming our nature itself, right? So when we connect ourselves truly to the inward in our hearts, this happens. Now, suppose we are not able to connect to our heart, how will we feel, right? Just imagine the love. Suppose love for our mother or for our wife or for our husband, the true pure love. What we would have felt at that point of time. Just imagine that condition is there in us around the clock. That feeling of love, which makes me complete, which makes me secure. Even if I have nothing in the world, I feel contented in my heart. I feel this is real. And anything which comes is only after that. But I put in my heart that condition as real, as pure, as simple, full of love. What are we searching for in our lives? All we are searching is only an experience of that happiness, bliss, or love. And of all action that we do is only a gratification which is inbuilt into that action. If that gratification never happens, we are not satisfied with that action itself, right? So what we need to do here is when we connect ourselves inwardly, and this is a journey, this is a process, and like any scientific process, this process is also proven not only in one but in lakhs of people. Once we connect ourselves, once this process starts like a science, we connect ourselves to a higher source. The quality of that source starts transcending into our hearts, and when it comes into our heart, we start becoming a different and a better human being in ourselves, right? Why? Because now our mind is not absorbed into the external subjects, it is absorbed into something which it is inherently the essence of us, right? So yes, I mean, this is an experience. This is like, I have not tasted mango, but you have tasted mango. You are telling me how it tastes, but unless I try it myself, we will not get it, right? Something like that, it happens in us. But it will make us transcend from, it will give us courage, it will give us peace, love, and calmness.
It's been a wonderful explanation, and the flow of conversation, the three of us is like a united river, just flowing free in one consciousness. It's been a wonderful experience, and I can't say that I'm just feeling so good in my heart. And all good things have to come to an end, and we will wind up today's webinar. Has been interesting, has more subjects to be discussed. We have just touched the fringe of solitude to inner connection. We have to discuss a much bigger issue, which is the ego, which you're talking about, gratification, which seems to be lying in the way of being one. So we'll meet up once again, but it was really a great exchange of ideas, which has really touched upon what is healthy life and how we have to, there is no choice in this matter at such times, to experiment with this inner connection and find out for one. Thank you so much, Harish and Rishi, and hope to see you one more time, maybe in another webinar or so. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Just want to add that Heartfulness Institute has many other ways of connecting, and we would love to show you some of the ways you can. We have heartfulness apps. We have a website, wellness@heartfulness.org, where you can go read more about this meditation, the way it functions and how it can benefit to you. And you can also write to us at wellness@heartfulness.org. Over and above that, we also have a Hearts app. And Heartfulness magazines, which is an international content covering from end to end on health, nutrition, wellness, and touching upon spiritual topics. We have master classes where you want to really find out how to connect. You can go through the 3 classes from the global guide himself, experience it. And otherwise, if you're a student and would love to just listen and take a call to follow it or not, you can try the Udemy classes, which have received great response from the youth circle. We have other shows in YouTube, wellness programs, webinars. Do connect to us, read over it. And the master himself connects every Friday with Adisis, the management consultant. It's a very, very interesting dialogue that shows and gives great insight into how meditation by itself is just not an interior spiritual process, but can actually translate itself into constructive action. So do visit our site, attend and tune into all these webinars, benefit and enjoy yourself. Of course, the final word, love irons out all wrinkles. This program is extremely useful to gain a lot, tune into it. Kamlesh D. Patel, our global guide, personally talks to you all and makes you understand why at this point of time you have to connect. Thank you for being with us. Hope to see you in the next webinar. In the meanwhile, if you do feel like contributing, donating, there are various sites. Tune into our website and do donate freely at such times. Thank you.
Thank you.